let's get into it.
Anticipated Fallout TV adaptation is finally released. And who am I kidding? We all knew this would be bad. Is anyone surprised? I mean, a single person. I made a video just reacting to the first trailer and knew this would be an absolute butchering. And why is that? Well, not just because it's Amazon, and we all know from Rings of Power and various other shows they made that they really don't care about the source material of any series, franchise, no matter how beloved. I mean, if they didn't care about Lord of the Rings, they sure as hell were not going to care about Fallout. But not just that, we know Bethesda doesn't care about Fallout, at least the lore, the canon, anything that they weren't directly involved with. And honestly, in some cases, even some of their older games, they don't care about continuity in the least bit. Now, for the sake of maintaining relevancy, I'm only going to review the first episode in this video, and I'll review the whole season next week. Every single episode dropped at the same time, so on the one hand, that's totally a good thing because this will be gone and forgotten in no time flat, because I don't think anyone who's a real fan of Fallout is going to consider this canon, especially because of all of the retcons, inconsistencies. It's obvious the showrunners didn't give a single shit about the Fallout universe.
I mean, it's got a season 2 coming. People aren't forgetting about it. It's very popular right now, and it's making all of the player counts for each and every Fallout game skyrocket right now. It's not gonna be forgotten, I don't think. And the retconning thing, I think a lot of it was a misunderstanding. Like people talking about like Shady Sands and like the timeline and stuff. Um, but like I think people just misread how it was going. It said like 2077, bombs dropped, and it had like an arrow pointing to it. I don't think that specifically meant that that happened in 2077, that Shady Sands was exploded, because, you know, I think it's just on the timeline after that, then the line goes. That's how like a timeline works. Um, I like New Vegas the most. And then like you see the strip at the end. I don't really see too many like retcons or anything like that. I think it makes sense and it kind of fits. Um, but that's just me. I'm also, looking at it as a person, like a human being with like common sense and a brain. Where like of course there's gonna be some things that they get wrong, but obviously, it's a TV show, one's a video game. They're not gonna connect perfectly. And you can tell like the main things from this and that can be canon, like Lucy and the dad and people being like cryoed before by Vault-Tec to have them in the wasteland future to like make the wasteland into what they want and survive the bombs because the greatest weapon of all is time. Like they kept putting a point in when it was like pre-bomb time when they were talking. That was like a big point that they made. And I think all of that feels very Fallout. That all makes sense to me. They talk about each of them getting their own vaults and doing it their way. And we see things like that, like all these different vaults. There's controlled vaults, and then all these ones with the tests and stuff. Like it makes sense to me. I don't really see what's incorrect about that.
Universe, yet Todd Howard said this is canon. I fucking hate Todd Howard at this point. I don't care if
We all hate Todd Howard. Like even people who love Fallout hate Todd Howard. That's just the thing. So I agree with him on that point.
projects and he's basically just a glorified salesman, the face of the company. Doesn't matter. He's still taking the fucking blame. So before I start spoiling everything in the intro, we might as well just get into the breakdown. So episode 1 begins in 2077, right before the bombs drop. We see Walton Goggins playing one of the main characters, the Ghoul. Yes, they literally call him the Ghoul when there are thousands of ghouls at minimum in the Fallout universe. He is the Ghoul. But as of right now, he is...
I said I wasn't going to pause every, 5 seconds, but I feel like this one's warranted. In New Vegas, we're called the Courier. There's not just one courier in existence. a courier is like a mailman. Do you know how many mailmen exist? You know? He's the ghoul because as we've seen with other ghouls, they're not as like capable as him. A lot of them are decomposing and dying or going feral. A lot of them aren't anything like of too much value, and he's over here, this cool cowboy bounty hunter man who's doing all this cool stuff. So yeah, he's the ghoul. You know, people are afraid of him. Like when we saw the people who want to go dig him up, they knew that he was a ghoul, but he was the ghoul because he's like the most well known. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the ghoul. It just makes sense. I think this is a very stupid criticism.
Cooper Howard, a Marine veteran who is famous for something. I don't think they explained it in this scene, but they imply he played some kind of cowboy character. I don't know if it's for commercials or military propaganda. And now he just does birthday parties for alimony payments. And I find this even more funny because his kid is mixed race. So his black wife divorced him, and now he plays fucking birthday parties. How blackpilling is that? And at the risk of getting a shit ton of dislikes from normies, just like my review of the first episode of The Last of Us, I find this even more funny because if you know anything about marriage statistics, you would know that white male, black female actually has the lowest divorce rates. So in a way, you could almost say this is anti-propaganda, but I still think it's promoting race mixing, as basically every show on television does.
This sounds very racist. It's not promoting race mixing. He's just a white man who had a kid with a black woman. This isn't woke. This isn't like anything. This is just normal life. Like how like I know a lot of people like kind of stick to their own race because, if you're Mexican, you usually live in like a more of a Mexican neighborhood, so you're most likely gonna, date and have a relationship with somebody else who's also Mexican because that's what's around you. But I mean, I'm Mexican and Cuban, and I'm not woke if I date a black woman or if I date an Irish woman or like a Jewish woman. I'm just dating a woman. Like, why does that have to be woke? If it was like something crazy, like he was married to like this black Chinese double leg amputee trans man who's, asexual or something, and they like kept saying that over and over again, that'd be woke. But uh him just having a child who's mixed because his wife is black, complaining about that being woke sounds very racist to me. I don't know. Very racist, very, very racist there, buddy. We need to check you out.
For as woke as video games are these days, TV and movies blow the gaming industry out of the water. But anyway, getting back to Fallout, the rich guy who's hosting the birthday party calls Walton Goggins a communist because he won't stick his thumb up in reference to the supposed safe distance from a nuclear bomb, implying that Walton Goggins opposes the war with China. Nothing really comes of this. This whole scene is obviously supposed to give you an idea what the retro future culture of 2077 looks like. But if a modern Marxist rewrote history and added diversity everywhere. Now, it's not like in the original Fallout games, all the characters were white, but there's something uncanny about this whole thing. We'll put it at that. I'm not going to make a huge deal over it. So anyway, shortly after the first nuke drops on LA, the rich guy punches his black friend, not letting him in their fallout shelter, and Walton Goggins rides off on a horse with his daughter on the back, as if you could fucking outrun a nuke. They literally just told us in the previous scene the safe distance is the size of a thumb. I think that explosion might be a little bit bigger than that. I know they did this to have a really dramatic scene, but it just comes across incredibly idiotic, especially since 3 more nukes drop, one which is within a mile of the house. Whatever. So anyway, moving on, we fast forward to the present, and I want
Doesn't that just sound like a human reaction? Like, there could be somebody, shooting a minigun at me, and I'm not just gonna be like, "Oh, well, it's very improbable for me to survive this. My chances are slim to none. Let me just stand here and take it." No, I'm gonna try to run away. Like, are you stupid? And it showed how human it is because they were all, like, buddy buddy holding hands and stuff, but as soon as, blank hits the fan, that guy punches his best friend, maybe not his best friend, but, he punches his friend and kicks him and his family out to die instead of letting him in the bunker. That shows how selfish and how human people are, and I think that was a very good scene. You saw how quickly they went from everyone's best friends at this party together to everybody's, all man for themselves, my family over everyone else's family. That shows a lot of humanity there. And even, the stupidity of humans sometimes thinking that they can outrun a nuke on a horse. Like, even if you can't do that, you're still gonna try because you're human and you want to live. I don't think that was a stupid scene or dramatic at all. It just sounds like a human scene.
Want to point out this takes place after all of the games. And more importantly, 15 years after Fallout New Vegas. You're going to want to remember that considering this takes place on the West Coast. So now we meet our true protagonist, Lucy, a resident of Vault 33, which I guess was another control vault. Either that or it's some kind of multi-vault experiment. As they fail to adequately explain in the show, Vault 31, 32, and 33 are all directly connected to each other. And so Lucy is applying for an arranged marriage with one of the other vaults. They show off all of her various skills. And of course, she just so happens to be good at basically everything. Definitely not Mary Sue, guys. And of course, she gets approved. We find out her father is the overseer. Her younger brother is this tiny, huge-nosed, cowardly, incompetent beta male. And also that Lucy fooled around with her cousin.
Messing around with your cousin, it's all well and good for kids, but it's not a sustainable long-term sexual practice, you know?
Who, despite being a tall, kind of more Chad-looking dude, is also a complete coward, worthless pussy. Get used to hearing that. And so the members of Vault 33 meet up with the members of Vault 32, and we find out her soon-to-be husband is actually a white guy and not ugly. Shocking. But don't worry, they ruin that pretty shortly. At the wedding, Lucy asks her new husband, Monty, what his sperm count is. I think I'm actually starting to like this girl. And even more based, as soon as they get back to her room, Monty strips naked and they just straight up have sex. So I guess one good thing came out of this show. But of course, everything goes to shit as the big schnoz little brother soon discovers one of the members of Vault 32 is dead and rotting. And it turns out raiders somehow got into Vault 32, killed everyone, and Lucy gets stabbed, but she manages to save herself in the most cliche Hollywood way possible by smashing a glass on his head and then like slicing his face. She heals herself with a stim pack and then heads into the armory and grabs a fucking trank gun. I guess all the real guns were already gone. And she witnesses
The arranged marriage thing makes a lot of sense if you think with your brain. All of this makes sense. I think he's just trying to say it in a negative way, so you just go along with it because of who he is. But a lot of this just makes sense to me. Why would they pick up a tranquilizer gun if they're gonna kill and loot everybody inside of this vault? They're gonna use the real guns that shoot fast and kill a lot of people. Not this tranquilizer gun they have to go, boom, okay, reload, boom, get
a
silly.
bunch of her friends get horrifically murdered, men just getting the absolute shit beat out of them. The only competent males at all are the raiders. But her pregnant best friend, after getting stabbed in the eye with a fork, gets a hold of an SMG and starts mowing down raiders. Wow. My God, it's Wolfenstein 2 all over again. This is
I'm gonna stop again, sorry. I apologize for stopping so much. But, this is a pregnant woman who got stabbed in the eye. You don't think with, like, all those hormones and everything going on with her body, because she's pregnant, and then also you know, the motherly instinct to protect her child who's like, you know, in her stomach, you don't think she's gonna do something badass and like something cool to protect her and her, you know, her future family? Like that doesn't make sense to you. And of course, the Raiders are gonna know how to fight, and these people who sit in a vault and like grow crops and do chores and don't have any combat experience at all because why would they need it if they've been in this vault not having any you know not having any raiders or stuff come down there because you need a pit boy to get in there. Of course they're not going to know how to fight and stuff like that. She'll have like security guards that'll like have like a police baton or something. But realistically, there's not going to be too much crime and stuff like that expected in a vault where they would need to, have tactical training to do all that. And, this is like 200 years of them being there and not having an incident like this, really. Of course, they're not going to be able to fight and they're going to be freaked out. They have like a fake moon in there and like picnic tables and they have jello cake every day. They're not going to know how to fight. This just makes sense if you use your brain.
This is the cringiest shit ever, seeing pregnant women be badass. I fucking hate this propaganda. It is so transparent. Whatever, moving on. Lucy's husband turns out to still be alive and almost kills her, but her dad manages to save her, being the only competent male in the show. And Lucy gets to see how brutal he is, which I'm pretty sure is implying that he's been to the surface before. But all of the survivors manage to get captured anyway. We see that the Latina overseer is the real villain of the show. Yes, this middle-aged brown woman is supposed to be this mega badass evil raider we're supposed to be intimidated by. Modern media is such a joke. We're not even halfway through the episode.
This guy's a joke. If I guess maybe I'd give him benefit of the doubt, like if he has the full context of like the entire show, you'd see why we would think that she's like a cool badass woman. So like I'll give him that. But like why can't a woman be cool and stuff? Like if you see her later in the show, she's really smart and like she's doing all this and she's got these really good plans and stuff like that. So like of course she can be a badass and be a woman and also be Latina. I feel like he's trying too hard to find things that are woke instead of just watching the show. Like, I think Veronica with her power fist and stuff is pretty badass and she's a woman. There's these cool badass women that we'll see in Fallout like playing the game. I don't understand why this has to be woke now.
So, and I already don't want to watch anymore, but fuck it. Let's just get through this. Evil Raider chick gives the overseer an ultimatum. Either choose his daughter Lucy or choose the rest of the residents of the vault. Obviously, he chooses his daughter, but instead of killing all the others, the Raiders just kidnap the dad and then just let the others run away as a bomb timer goes off. Oh, and Raider bitch reveals that she knows Lucy's mom. Wow, what a mystery. I'm so intrigued. What the fuck was the point of this scene? All right, now we get to meet our final main character, Maximus, and it's another pussy-ass black guy. It's one thing that every single TV show, movie, and now video game has a diverse cast, but do you have to have every black man be a fucking pussy in modern media? As harsh as I was on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, at least Barrett is a cool character, okay? You can sell me on a diverse character if they're cool, if they...
Has this guy never heard of character development? Like we see Maximus go from this like total pushover nothing to like, taking the power armor and trying to become a hero and be this cool badass guy. Of course it'd be cool to see him start from nothing to something. He's not going to stay nothing forever. That's just that's just very lazy of an argument there.
They just act like a person, but they happen to have a different color of skin. I know this is very stereotypical shit that basically everyone said by now, but it's true. It doesn't matter how many times it's said, it's accurate. And yeah, so he gets hazed by all the other Brotherhood of Steel initiates, and he gets saved by a trans man. I'm not joking, dude. A masculine female. No, that is a woman who identifies as a man. You know it to be true. And she's more of a man than Maximus is. This is fucking embarrassing. Whatever. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so I had to record this just while I was editing. Um, this guy's like super transphobic and like sounds like a white supremacist almost, and like throughout this whole thing. Like this show would have been better to him if they were all just a bunch of strong white men as the only characters in the show whatsoever. It seems like no, that is not a trans person who is pretending to be a man. That's a non-binary person who doesn't identify as a man or a woman. That's why they are a little masculine, are a little feminine. They're somewhere in the middle, or even not at all, depending on who you ask. You don't need to be a bigot here because you're a loser. Yeah. Back to your episode.
And of course, Maximus doesn't get chosen, but the girl boy does. And so the next morning, as G.I. Jane puts on her boots, a trap placed inside her boot shreds her leg. And to no surprise, Maximus is blamed for this and taken away to be interrogated. Back at Vault 33, Lucy tries to get the council to send out a search party for her dad, but the fat black soy jack on the council is too chicken shit, as is the rest of them. And so Lucy teams up with Big Schnoz and Sweet Home Alabama to leave the vault themselves. Of course, her brother, being a massive pussy, won't go with her. Her cousin actually wants to, but she knows he's incredibly incompetent and also a coward, so she tranks him and leaves the vault by herself. Now, this is where the show jumps the shark. We find out that Vault 33 is located next to Venice Beach, in the heart of the Boneyard. Now, if you know anything about Fallout lore, you would know that the NCR dominated this territory, brought civilization back to it. There is no way in hell that Vault 33 was not contacted over the course of 100 years. And of course, to address the elephant in the room, LA itself is a massive wasteland, like a featureless desert. What happened to the NCR? Well, at the time of me recording this, I was spoiled of future episodes. And apparently, Shady Sands got nuked 4 years before the events of Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, that's how you know the showrunners didn't do the research, and yet this show's canon. It's totally canon, guys, that the capital of the NCR got nuked before New Vegas. Yet it was never mentioned, and it's more than established that the NCR dominated California and brought civilization back. Fuck this show. Everyone who likes Fallout 4 gets exactly what they fucking deserve with this show. What blows my mind is there's people who actually thought Starfield was going to be good. And even though the NCR capital was nuked, that doesn't explain how the Boneyard turned into a giant desert wasteland. But it's as simple as the showrunners didn't care. This is not made for the fans. This is made for normies who have heard of Fallout. It's made for women who won't even watch the show. And most importantly, it's made as a humiliation ritual. They will destroy everything you love, and you will do nothing about it. At best, you'll vote with your wallet and hope things get better. Yeah, that's worked out so great for us in the last decade. But whatever, I'm not gonna Fed post because I will legitimately get banned. Next scene, we get back to Maximus, and he cries like a little baby bitch as the scribe interrogates him, accusing him of something he didn't do. And he
Uh, this part like blew my mind almost a little bit when he was talking. Like, there's a dude, a big old robo fella. You know, he's got the dude in the power armor in the back. And you're like on trial, expecting like everybody thinks it's you. Nobody likes you. He gets bullied and teased all the time. Nobody likes him. Nobody's on his side. And you're not gonna be crying, expecting to die there. Of course he's gonna cry. And this whole like just continued transphobia for this person that's not even trans, it's so annoying. Like, is this guy just like a white is right? Like, I hate anybody who's not cis or something? Like, does he go outside and like talking about forced diversity because the ghoul's wife is black and he has a biracial daughter? That's not forced diversity. That's just a normal couple. Like, what? How often? Okay, okay. Just use your brain for like 2 seconds if this is possible for you, sir. Are you just 100% like German, 100% Japanese? No, nobody is that. Do you know how many we've been mixing, racially and ethnically for forever? Like, sure, you could be a majority, oh, I'm you know, I don't know, 40% Mexican, and then like, 20% this, 5% this, 1% this, you know. Just because there's a biracial couple in existence doesn't mean that it's woke. It's so stupid.
No effort to defend himself. Eventually, he works up the courage to speak and just says he would gladly give his life for the Brotherhood, and the scribe rewards him by promoting him to squire, taking the she-man's place. Then we get a scene where the she-man doesn't blame him because she knows he would never do it because, again, he's a little bitch boy who would never do anything wrong. What a great protagonist. And at his anointment ceremony, he gets a brand burned on the back of his neck by power armor, which is kind of cool, I guess. And now we get another massive retcon. Apparently, the Enclave is still around. Yup, even though we see the last of their remnants in New Vegas, which are a bunch of fucking senile boomers. 15 years later, the Enclave is back with a vengeance. Maximus is tasked with finding one of their runaways who I guess is hanging with.
Is it not realistically possible that the Enclave still exists? Like, I don't know. In 15 years? You don't think there could have been some Enclave still alive in somewhere else and then came back to try to retake this? I mean, just think of New Vegas. How long do you think the game is from like beginning to end? I'd say like a year max, and look at the stuff you can do. You're able to like go win the war for the Hoover Dam with the NCR or the Legion, or you can do the Yes Man ending. You can do all this time and all this like stuff in such little time. Why is it out of the realm of possibility that the Enclave wasn't totally super wiped out and there's no one new, you know, who's keeping up with the Enclave's morals or something like that? You know, even in Fallout 3, when you destroy like the majority of the Enclave, there's still like these small camps and stuff you have to take out. You know, it makes total sense that the Enclave could come back. Maybe just like not mentioning that they were like diminished to like almost nothing at one point is a little silly, but just them existing, it that doesn't that doesn't feel like a retcon at all to me.
Dog meat. And for the final scene of the episode, we wrap back around to Walton Goggins as we see a few mercenaries dig up his corpse. Oh god, here we go again. Pete Hines has been vindicated. For those of you who don't know, there is a unmarked quest in Fallout 4 where you find a ghoul child who's been locked in like a fridge or something. I can't even really remember. The child has been in there for 200 years with no food or water, and you reunite him with his parents who are also ghouls. It's quite possibly the dumbest quest in any RPG of all time, and rightfully, fans pointed out how stupid it was, how it's been established in the original games that ghouls do eat and drink, and I believe even in Fallout 3, they have to eat and drink. But no, now ghouls are just immortal zombies, and Pete Hines, being a massive silly Billy on Twitter, pointed out how nerds are all losers for caring about continuity. You're right. Why should I care about anything that happens in the story? I should just consume your product, you piece of shit. But now, over.
That's just nitpicking. Oh no, this one ghoul side quest thing, you find a kid in a fridge who's been there for, 200 years, and ghouls don't age or anything. I think you could have realistically been like, oh, maybe there was food in there. Or you know what, maybe he ate, like, I don't know, something that, like, little tiny bugs that would crawl in there or something. Like, it makes sense. People could have, like, fed him through it or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know. That one I can't really explain too much. It is like, oh, well, I guess they don't need to eat or something. Um, but like that's just very nitpicking for like no reason. It's just a silly little quest where you can, help this kid get back to his family, or you can sell him to a slaver and like be evil, and then, you can also sell him to the slaver and then go follow where the slaver goes, free the kid and stop the guy from doing his slaving business. I think it's a cool quest. Saying it's like the worst quest ever, you're clearly very much exaggerating, and this is probably all rage bait.
Show is fucking stupid. Okay, that was episode 1. It sucked dick. It ruined everything. Fallout's dead again. Honestly, Fallout's been dead to me since Fallout 4 released, and to even more fans after 76. So while yes, I did get kind of angry over certain things in this show, sometimes I ham things up for the reviews. I honestly don't care that much. I'm just tired of propaganda being shoved in my face more than anything. And yeah, I mean, this show's woke as fuck. It's diverse as hell. It's an obvious female empowerment story. That's really the most annoying thing of all. Lucy is an obvious Mary Sue. All of the men around her are incredibly pathetic and weak. The trans male character was more of a man than Maximus, one of our main characters. You would think black people would make more of a stir about this, but as you saw with my Spider-Man 2 review, no, they totally love Miles Morales, who's fucking Urkel incarnate. So I guess we're going to continue to see these characters in the future until showrunners and game developers start getting called racist for this pathetic beta male stereotype. And yeah, I don't think I need to bring up again how heavily they've shit on the Fallout lore already in the first episode. I'm really, really not looking forward to watching the rest of this. I just know when they show the huge crater where Shady Sands used to be, it's just going to be a giant middle finger to all the fans. And I've heard Mr. House also shows up in this show. And to spoil a plot point from later in the show, they confirm that Vault-Tec fired the first nuke, which completely ruins the main theme of Fallout. These fucking far leftists don't even listen to the opening monologue or the ending one. War never changes. That's what the fucking series is about. But you stupid fucks are so obsessed with capitalism, you think it's about corporation bad. That's what Fallout's really about. The games literally tell you what the theme is word for word. Now that it's not America or China's fault that the world ended, the entire message of the series is ruined. I guess the silver lining of all of this is there's only a few gaming franchises I still even care about anymore, and it's only a matter of time till those are destroyed too. And then I can truly be apathetic about the entire gaming industry. So yeah, as if I even had to tell you, don't watch this show. I mean, if you like this show on any level, I've lost any and all respect for you. In fact, I don't think I even
I feel like this all makes sense though. Vault-Tec bombed themselves so they'd use the biggest weapon, which is time, to win the war because they're selfish and greedy. And they want to win the war and win in general by doing it their way. If you've ever played a Fallout game, like, let's just take the one that everyone usually fights over if it's the best or not. I personally, it's the best for me. New Vegas. The NCR wants to restore the Mojave and make it, back to its prime and make it like inhabitable for everybody. But they want to do it, their way, the old democratic, like what the government we have now in the United States. They want to do that. The Legion wants to do it with their ideals. Everybody in every faction wants to save the world, but in their own way. That's a driving factor in the show. It's said even in the show directly. for those of you who couldn't like infer about it, you know? Um, Synthetic man or whatever your name is, it's not important to me. You're not important to me. Um, you don't deserve to call yourself a Fallout fan. A real Fallout fan wouldn't react this way to something pretty close to Fallout. This was very good and surpassed my expectations for an Amazon Prime made Fallout adaptation. I thought it was amazing. I can't wait for season 2. This is coming from, you know, a fanboy of the series who's played every game at least, a handful of times over and over again, thousands of hours. I know a lot of the lore, and this was pretty good to me for what it was. I'm judging this as what it is and not putting these like superficial, crazy expectations on it. And I'm also not knocking them down because it's not just straight white men in it, which you would want for some reason. There's an interracial couple, yet okay, who cares? That happens insanely commonly in real life if you've ever looked outside. I've definitely dated outside of my race before, like most people have, I would assume. It's not woke because there's a non-binary character that you thought was trans because you're slow. Um, I didn't get mad at Fallout 4 because Hancock was really cool and a ghoul. I'm not getting mad because he's not a straight white man. He's a ghoul. I'm not getting mad because Veronica's a lesbian. If you're a real Fallout fan, you'd see all these different people with different ideas in different places and looking at how you can all come together to make the wasteland a better place and, restore order and, be human. I think that's what Fallout is to me. I don't know if it's necessarily about like war and war never changing. I think it's more about humanity in general and showing their reactions and how they respond in these scenarios. You can see from just the beginning of the bunker thing, these guys were like best friends, and then he punches his friend in the face, not letting him in the bunker with him because he's human and he's selfish and he's, just looking out for his family and he's not gonna, let his friend in and jeopardize his family, and be like a good person, and do like the right thing, which would be to let him in there with you. No, he's human and selfish and greedy, so he throws him out and looks at after just himself. We can see all these different choices and actions in the show and in the games that are all very human, and that's really what Fallout is to me. It's humanity.